people aren't answering the 1-800 numbers, they get a thick survey in the mail and they throw it in the garbage, right? But it's the same thing, right? Response rates. One of the things that we have to make sure as part of discharge is to tell folks you're going to be maybe getting a phone call from a survey company. It'll be a 1-800 number. It's really important that you answer the questions if you take the survey. It won't take long. We need to educate our patients to take the survey. Because the one bugaboo from day one, the first day that I started to do this, and it's still true, it's response rates. And it doesn't matter whether it's HealthStream or Prep, and HealthStream, I call the phone guys, and I love the fact that they're doing a phone interview. I really love that. Or if it's the mailing guys, because most of them don't, most of the vendors are mailing. How do you get people to return the stuff and talk to you? And response rates is the biggest problem in surveying, and has been for decades.
I don't know if I can't even remember now, if it was my insurance or through Ollie's insurance, I got a letter saying, you will be getting a survey from us soon. Please fill it out. If you don't fill it out, we'll be sending another one. If you don't do that, we'll be calling you. So I get the survey, and I had it in my purse, I was gonna fill it out, and I never filled it out. So I get another letter saying, hey, we never got your response. We'll be sending another letter. Another survey came. And so I made sure to fill it out now, because the last time I didn't, they did call you. And, after so many letters, they finally called and said, oh, do you have about 20 minutes of, of time that you can spare to talk to us? It was like, you shouldn't have filled anything out. So I did make sure to fill it out this time, but they were, I was getting a letter, it was like, I got 2 surveys and probably 3 letters saying, like, it's getting close to us calling you. Fill it out.
And it gets expensive, like, for them to do this, right? Because you do so many, and I don't want to talk sort of the HealthStream, because I imagine it's the same, but I'm more familiar with the sort of investigating methods. They say, well, if your response rate isn't high enough, we need to send out more surveys. And how do they charge? Not by response rates, but by mailings. And it'll be the same thing for HealthStream. We want to contact more people to ching. The price goes up. The price goes up. The price goes up. The survey business can get very, very expensive, but we have to do it. So just out of curiosity, what happens if you're up here doing this workshop and someone asks you a question that you have no clue what the answer is? Does anybody here know what a Pearson correlation coefficient is? So I hardly know either. It's the statistical quirk or algorithm that links things, that helps you prioritize. In the old days of patient satisfaction, it was actually a column where they told you what the Pearson correlation coefficient was. Not that anybody cared, but we'd always get asked that question. So what happens if you get asked the question? Ask me a question that you know I can't answer.
Does Courtney really have 4 nipples?
I prefer not to put that on a flip chart. So how about leaving Courtney out of this? Anyway. A question other than that. Then leave her out of this. And no anatomy questions. So let's see.
Where's the best place to eat bagel?
That is an excellent question. An administrator will be coming to answer questions after the workshop's over, and I think we're going to give they're much better to tell us exactly where the best place to eat in Benjamin is. So, besides I thought it was bursty. So what you do is this: you write parking lot. And 1 places to eat. And then when the administrator comes in, you say to them, so before we take questions from the floor, we just had a couple of issues that came up that we thought you would be, to help us answer these questions. So the first question is, where's the best place to eat in Memory? So let them answer the parking lot questions. That way you don't say, I don't know, because you don't want to say that, right? But you want to say, that, an administrator's coming and we really like, because what you're going to ask, you might get asked like a technical question on HCAHPS or something goofy like that. You have no clue. So the best thing to do is, an administrator will be here and they'll be able to answer that question. So we're going to put it on the parking lot and we'll ask them. And that way, you shift the responsibility. Recommendation, don't start off your workshop by saying, we're going to create a parking lot. So if there's stuff that I don't know, we'll put it down here and get somebody else to answer it. Because they will fill the wall parking lot if you need it, and you're gonna be surprised at how infrequently you're going to do this. This is not something you do often, but every once in a while, you're gonna get nailed with a question, and usually it's around surveys, because, you know, you get these people, your docs were pretty good, but I remember once arguing with doctors for 2 hours on statistical validity of the numbers. Just crazy. So I changed my attitude. My attitude is, I don't care what you think about this statistical viability of the numbers. The numbers are the numbers. If you're mad at them, good. I want you to be mad because I can help you fix it. But I'm not going to argue with whether or not they're valid. That's my attitude toward numbers. Anyway, back to this just for a second, the numbers, the HCAHPS. You can see you got some tremendous scores, and you got 1 0. And you got a percentile rank of 1, which means you're in the bottom of the pile. However, again, why is it 0? Because nobody's responding. So you got low response rates. So this is, your current numbers are, in my opinion, a bit skewed. So as the magic number for this type of surveying, and whether it's HCAHPS or in the old days, patient satisfaction, is 30 surveys in a quarter. That was sort of, you got 30 surveys that was statistically significant, and they would publish reports. And you'll go in sometimes, if you go into the HCAHPS website on CMS, you'll see ratings, and there'll be some kind of a weird Greek little symbol in the corner or whatever, and if you go down, look on the bottom, it will tell you that there wasn't a sufficient number of surveys. So that even though that's the number, is not necessarily comparable because of the low survey numbers. So that's a problem. But
So do they take into account low census, like for reimbursement? Or,
well, I don't know. They're going to have to do some. I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. But logic would dictate
Put it
that.
on the parking lot.
I don't think anybody can answer that question. But logic would dictate that if they're going to hold you accountable, and you've got low census, which is one reason that a lot of hospitals, you know, have the smallest hospital I ever worked in had 67 staff. And the 67th was the first full-time housekeeper they ever had, and was hired the week before I got there. So, I mean, this is an itty-bitty place in Texas. I mean, itty-bitty. The clinic is 3 times the size of the hospital. So, you know, you've got to be fair. You just don't have the census to get 30, right? So they're going to have to make some type of adjustments. Logic dictates that that's going to have to happen. What that is, I have no clue. But logic dictates that they're going to have to do something to make it fair. Because in a low census, you know, a little mark can kill you. I mean, it can just, you know, you get 3 people, one guy rates you a 2, you're dead. You're 60%, no matter, you know. And if 2 people rate you bad out of 3, so they're going to have to do something. I would think logically dictate.
Well, see, that's why I brought that up as far as inpatient, because I feel our outpatient services will, in the long run, affect our inpatient.
Mm-hmm. I talked to a hospital CEO in Canada a couple of years ago, and he'd been in business like for his whole life. And he said the number of, you know, if you look at the ratios, you know, in the old days, sort of the inpatient, outpatient type procedures was, you know, very, very small number for outpatient, big numbers for inpatient. He says today everything's flipped. He says we do as much as we can on an outpatient basis, and as little as we have to on an inpatient basis. So the mix, the patient mix is changing. And I would suggest what they're probably going to do, and they're, you know, once they got this HCAHPS thing going, they figure, wow, we got people doing surveys, let's survey everything. You know, so they're doing nursing homes, they're doing, the clinic one is almost up and running. ED is, we're getting ready to sort of attack with our apps on what you need to do to improve your ED. Outpatient's it's gotta be right next to the line. It's gotta be, because you're not unique in that. Everybody's doing that, so yeah, it'll happen. And it'd be interesting to see what the outpatient statistics look like by themselves. Are they better than the inpatient? You don't think so?
Well, there'd be more amount of outpatient, but I think the complaint status would be more.
Interesting. Interesting.
I don't know.
Which though makes sense though, because you know, you're gonna have more people surveyed to complain versus smaller.
That's one way to look at it.
Proportion wise.
You'll also have more people to survey to compliment, right? So if you've got a lot of people complaining, then we have to ask ourselves, what are we doing wrong?
Right,
And how can we improve that?
right.
So where does the
Because-
clinic fit in?
The CCAP survey is not mandatory yet. They're running beta testing. A lot of our clients are doing it voluntarily. And I don't know when the drop dead date is, but it's coming much sooner than later. And I know that we're doing stuff in Calgary with clinics as well. At our conference, Bruce Lee did what did they call them this year? Academies? I can't remember. They were symposiums one year, then they're academies, then whatever. But Bruce, the last couple of years, has been concentrating on clinics and patient satisfaction in the clinic setting. It's coming.
The providers already have, it's MB clips, I think, that the providers have to sit numbers and then those scores stay with them no matter where they go. So there's already a step in that there.
Well, we do that little survey, I don't know if it's every quarter.
You do the patient one,
The patient
in-house
survey,
ones,
yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
But
Yeah,
that-
it's-
But that doesn't reflect in any
No,
of this.
No, not yet. Where was it? St. Joseph's in Dickinson, North Dakota. When we did this page, we actually had to block a page for clinic scores. And it was interesting because they had just started, so we had this preliminary data, so we had to put all the warnings, you know, there's no comparison, we just started, there are no national stuff, there is nothing, but here's our scores, because obviously we got clinic folks coming to the workshop, so we wanted to be able to share that with them. So I know they're doing it voluntarily, it's coming. Like even the ED, we're not sure what the domains are. So it's been an interesting challenge to say, okay, so what do we write if we don't know what to write for? And we know there's gonna be, you know, like the communication stuff with physicians and nurses and stuff, we know that's gonna be pretty standard, but what else are they gonna ask? That's what we're trying to figure out, we're working with a couple of organizations to do that, so. It's gonna be a busy summer, but you can write at the lake. You can write on the dock if you're in the shade and see the computer screen. So you can fish and work at the same time, so it's not bad. Anyway, don't tell Brian. So anyway, so we've got some scores. So your current results again, very good, but I'm suggesting that again, because of numbers and stuff, they're drops, they're not realistic. Obviously, a score of 0 is not realistic about communication about med, so we obviously didn't get any response there. So we did want to share though that we are getting some numbers back, and we wanted to show you how we did last year. So, any questions about HCAHPS? No? All right, moving along. Patient verbatim survey comments. So these comments actually came from your patients in surveys because they're given an opportunity to do a little venting, both good and bad. So what we'd like to do is like to go around the room. We'll start at this end this time, just sort of to save the mic. So what we'd like you to do is we'd like you to read the comment, but we want you to recreate the tone and the emotion that the person was feeling when they made the comment. Okay, so recreate the emotion and the tone that the patient had when they made the comment. So,
My room got cold at night, my temperature wouldn't adjust. Everything was good.
I was treated really well. I can't think of anything. I recommended the hospital to my mother. No problems with anything. My doctor was really down to earth. She was great. They need to do more for her. She was a great doctor.
The beds and their laundry. They're rough and they send their laundry out. They're rough to lay on. Address the pain more.
New TV.
They could have given the patient across the hall for me a sleeping pill. He was hollering it all night. He was mad.
that or a little drink.
The hospital could have done everything better.
They did great.
They took excellent care of me.
I thought the doctor could have done more. One day she told me one thing, the next day she told me something else.
I've had IVs in both hands. The telephone in the room is not reachable. They need to help the patients with this.
Listen to me a little more.
I don't think they could have been any better.
So what did you feel like when you heard a good comment? Makes you feel pretty good. How did you feel when you heard a bad comment?
Need to do something.
You need to do something, you need to get on this, you need to fix this. So there's a lot of value in reviewing patient comments as they come in and as we learn what they are. There's also, I think, a great value in part of staff meetings or in service halls to read out a few comments, just as we did here, just to start to get people's minds into the right minds. Yes, we're doing a good job. Oh my gosh, we screwed up on this. We need to fix things to really get us going. So there's a lot of value in this to get people to realize what we need to do. All right, discharge surveys and post-discharge phone calls. And we've got here just a sample. And would there be a benefit of, what would be the value of receiving additional feedback from your patients that are collected before discharge and if they were shared? So post-discharge and pre-discharge. We just put a sample survey here because I think you guys are going to be working on one. But we just wanted to give you an idea of what it could look like. The beauty of sort of a consistent form is that you can consistently then compare data. And the other thing about a form and a process is that you don't miss questions, which can sometimes happen. So discharge phone calls can be a great, great help. Then we get into the employee satisfaction surveys. And we've got a couple of pages for you here on page 16 and 17. And I think that overall, the results are pretty good. Now, there's some areas that we need to pull up our socks on in terms of not only each other, but of managers as well. And I'm thinking in terms of when we look at my working environment as a positive one, where we got, a lot of people somewhat agree. Well, maybe we need to, pull up our socks a little bit and make it a more pleasant place to work, and at the risk of sounding flippant, a little more fun place to work. Places that are fun come up with better ideas, more creative ideas, better results than places that aren't. My work climate encourages teamwork and support again. Just, strongly agree, somewhat agree, we need to pull up our socks just a wee bit. Upper management does a good job of keeping everyone informed. And again, there it says mostly strongly agree, but that somewhat agree is kind of high there. So something we need to look at. And then finally, and again, I'm sort of just cherry picking here. I'm able to manage my workload without undue stress, and strongly agree, somewhat agree, again, much higher than. So some places we need to pull up our socks. I know that the survey generated a lot of comments, and we are going to be, as a group collectively, we are going to be working on those comments. We're going to be working on these issues, and you're going to see that happening as we move forward. One thing that I'm going to address, this is not part of the workshop, but just to give you, again, insights. I find that the more I tell the SCAs, the better things work, right? And then you hold all of us accountable. But, Sandy and I and Rita have been talking, and in our when I'm here in June, I have your managers for a full day. And we do a course called the Service and Department Leadership course. So one of the topics we're going to talk about is the survey. And the survey specifically in terms of, and I'm going to cherry pick one on purpose. Well, let's just pick, I'm pleased with the quality, no, not that one. My working environment is a positive one. And you can see there that you've got a lot of somewhat agrees and a lot of, it's sort of a little bit about around that. Somewhat agrees pretty high. So we need to up the ante here. So how do you do that? How does a manager, how do you improve the positive environment of the workforce? And the one way you do this is to sit down with your staff and say, okay, look, we got back the results of your employee survey. We've been studying this. We've been working. Michael was here, and we need to. This bothered me, and we need to try to improve this. So, what do you think we need to do